Ayes. Order the acting speaker.
Sawucela uba elowo nalowo aziyaleze enkosini yakhe ngokuthe cwaka. I shall now call upon everybody to pray or meditate silently. Thank you very much. We may be seated. Honorable Premier, Honorable Premier, members of the Executive, Presiding Officer, Chair of Chairs, Deputy, our Chief Whip and Deputy, Honorable Members, Chairperson of Committees, we are greeting everybody here and those that are joining this session virtually. I can see the platforms are already connected, Honorable Premier, because this day is very important to the people of the Eastern Cape. Our heads of departments led by the Director General of the province. Indeed, I take this opportunity to recognize everybody present in this meeting. Just as a reminder, honorable members, I also welcome the members in the public gallery, members of the media as well. Siyabulisa Nkosi, I think I'll be briefed about special guests of members. As we all know that we always commend when members are bringing also their families here so that they can see what their fathers and mothers are doing, sisters and brothers in this chamber. We are undergoing repairs, and surely the ICT challenges we have been experiencing are being attended, and as such we have interim measures that are sought services and service providers to assist us with the chamber system to support our physical plenaries. Are there any notices of motion? I will recognize Honorable Mbonyana.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Greetings. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I move a notice of motion in terms of Rule 131 of the Standing Rules of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature that this House notes the following. According to the research conducted, despite legislations on diversity in the workplace, disabled people still do not experience the same access to work opportunities as they do their counterparts without disabilities. The World Health Organization shows that employment rates vary across countries. The bottom line is that all over the world, a person with disability is less likely to be employed than a person without a disability. Past research has found that managers report that they rarely see disabled workers in their application pools. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, honorable members, protects the rights of all people in South Africa. Human rights are applicable to all people, therefore, everyone in the country is entitled to human rights by virtue of being human. Section 9 of the Constitution provides that everyone is equal before the law and has equal protection and benefit of the law. No person, including the state and private companies, may unfairly discriminate directly or indirectly on one or more grounds against any person, including race, gender, color, age, or disability. Section 10 of the Constitution further provides that everyone has the right to have their dignity respected and protected. Lastly, there shall be no discrimination against disabled people, and they shall enjoy equal opportunities in all spheres of life, and they shall be protected against exploitation and all treatment of an abusive or degrading nature. Therefore, Honorable Deputy Speaker and honorable members, I move a motion that the House resolve that all departments must develop and submit plans on how they intend to meet the targets of equity for disabled people in their workplaces, including access to their institutions. As part of strengthening robust oversight, a report must be submitted to the legislature on a quarterly basis, updating the legislature on how disabled people are prioritized and reasonably accommodated in every level of employment. For each employment cycle stage, there should be relevant empirical evidence that disabled people are being recognized, accommodated, and that government is committed to creating more effective, equitable, and inclusive workplaces for all. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mbonyana. This is a notice of motion, and therefore it is noted, and the motion then will be debated at a later stage in accordance with Rule 133, subsection 1. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Dimaza.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Good morning. It's the motion on unclaimed pensions in the departments, especially Department of Education and Health. The notice of motion in terms of Rule 131 of the standing rules of the order of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature. I hereby give notice that I move in terms of Rule 131 of the standing rules of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature that this House notice that pensions form part of the social protection by the state in terms of Section 27 of the Constitution and the relevant legislation. Recognize the great strides put in place by the ANC-led government to ensure that people have access to their pensions and are able to live a dignified life after they have retired from public service. And these measures include legislative and administrative processes. Accept that Section 7(2) of the Constitution respects, protects, promote, and fulfill every right in the Bill of Rights, and that the government must ensure that no one is prejudiced after their public service. Further, that Section 10 of the Constitution protects the right of human dignity, and such is realized when people have access to basic amenities of life and pensions contribution to realization of the dignified life. Affirm that public servants are entitled to reasonable and fair pensions after they have retired. Notes that there are unclaimed pensions from government employees' pension fund by public servants, especially public servants in the health and the education departments. Consider the frustrations faced by the retired public servants when claiming their pensions and the reported failures to contact the retired employees who have unclaimed funds through their personal contacts if there is insufficient information. Therefore, for the House to resolve, 1, for the province to ensure that processes for claiming pensions is pleasant and client-friendly for the retirees to claim their pensions. 2, further, for the appointment of an oversight committee in the provincial legislature to ensure that retired health and education and all public servant employees in particular receive their pensions without undue delays. I so move, Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dimaza. Your motion is noted, and then it will be debated at a later stage in accordance with Rule 133, subsection 1. Thank you very much. Honorable Kontsiwe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Acting Speaker. I stand to move the motion without notice on the 2023 Netball World Cup and the Eastern Cape Trophy Tour. Honorable Acting Speaker, I move without notice in terms of Rule number 130 that the House notes that the 2023 Netball World Cup is set to commence on the 28th of July to the 6th of August 2023, and this represents a monumental vote of confidence in the country's ability to host international sporting events. Further notes that South Africa is in the past has successfully hosted major sporting events, including the rugby and soccer FIFA World Cup, both in 1995 and 2010 respectively. And therefore, we have every reason to believe that in 2023, the country will host the best and most spectacular World Cup, that is the Netball World Cup. Also, the House note recognizes that research has shown that attitudes towards women's sports have changed dramatically as a result of tournaments like hosting the Netball World Cup. Further recognize that this will be the first time the tournament is held in the African continent. That the House appreciates that the excitement is mounting around the world as the country prepares to host the Netball World Cup 2023 in Cape Town. As such, the Department of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture has developed programs and set aside budget with a view of promoting and publicizing the Netball World Cup. Also that we applaud the department for the support created in collaboration with the Provincial Netball Fraternity and the Eastern Cape Netball Association, also the Eastern Cape Schools Netball Association, in order to ensure the maximum support to our netball team and entire netball tournament. Therefore, the House resolves to support the Eastern Cape Netball World Cup Trophy Tour that will be in all districts of the province from the 28th of June to the 3rd of July 2023 for 5 full days. Actively campaign and popularize the occasion of the Eastern Cape receiving the trophy on the 28th of June from Northern Cape Province in Colesberg, going around the province and handing it over to the Western Cape in Sarabatman Tsitsikama on the 3rd of July 2023. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. This is a motion without notice. I then put the motion. Honorable members, agreed? Thank you very much. Honorable Notse?
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Noting that the Kouga municipality achieved 91% out of 100 rating in the latest Blue Drop report, further noting that the Jeffreys Bay water treatment works was ranked second out of 15 water service providers in the province, displaying the drive by the Kouga municipality in ensuring that it delivers the best possible quality of water for its residents. Noting further that the Kouga municipality also established 4 water purification plants to ensure that borehole water reaching the taps is drinkable. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I can say with confidence that no other municipality in the Eastern Cape, during the most debilitating drought that we have faced over the last 8 years, have done this for its people, ensuring that potable water reaches its residents. Honourable Deputy Speaker, Section 27 of the Constitution explicitly states that everyone has the right to have access to sufficient water, and that is exactly what this municipality is striving towards. The municipality, which is running its administration systems through SCADA, is able to detect changes in water quality, ensuring that they respond to such changes before they become major health hazards. That is what we call an innovative government. The municipality was also able to achieve this result, coupled with multiple projects being implemented, namely the Humansdorp water treatment works and the Jeffreys Bay boreholes, to augment the supply of water in their system and reduce reliance on the Churchill Dam. Resolving that the Eastern Cape Legislature congratulate the Kouga municipality in their efforts to ensure, with the limited resources available to the municipality, they are able to deliver results that we as a province can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Notice. This is a motion without notice, Honourable members. I put the motion. Okay. Honourable Kasim.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I hereby move in terms of Rule 131.1 of the Standing Rules that this House, noting 1, that recently 2 educators from Bonkolo Senior Secondary School in Duchwa in the Eastern Cape who have been put on precautionary suspension by the Department of Education are accused of impregnating learners at the school. 2, as per the provisions of Section 17(1)(c) of the Employment of Educators Act, educators cannot have any sexual relations with learners. 3, that during a school visit to J.A. Kalata Senior Secondary School by the Portfolio Committee on Education in February 2021 and in July 2021, it was noted in a subsequent report that the delay in processing of sexual harassment cases by the Provincial Education Labour Relations Council against a suspended educator and the absence of a sexual harassment policy made it possible for the suspended educator to return to the school, and this poses a threat to other female learners. 4, that the South African Council for Educators received 20 complaints from the Eastern Cape of misconduct of a sexual nature by teachers on learners in the 2021-2022 financial year. 5, that not all misconduct of a sexual nature by an educator on a learner are reported due to the fear of victimization. This House further noting, in schools there is a power imbalance between the adults and the minors, with adults having authority over minors. This is not an ordinary work environment where an ordinary human resource sexual harassment policy would be appropriate and effective. That the Department of Education in the Eastern Cape does not have a specialized sexual harassment policy in place that is specifically appropriate for the school environment. That we as members of the Provincial Legislature and as public representatives of our people have the responsibility to ensure that there is a safe environment for children at our schools, and that key to a safe environment is a sexual harassment policy that can be applied consistently at schools, can ensure that people can feel safe and protected in order to speak out, register their complaints, and be ensured that no complaints will result in any recrimination or victimization or left unattended, and will ensure that victims are safe from having to confront their abusers at school whilst the investigation is ongoing. That this House therefore resolves that the Department of Education in the Eastern Cape must implement a strict timeline in which the PELRC must conclude an investigation into a case of sexual harassment or assault on a learner by an educator in the province. 2, that the department implements immediate consequence management on an educator who enters a school premises whilst under investigation for sexual harassment or assault against a learner in order to protect the learner. And 3, that the Department of Education in the Eastern Cape must, in consultation with gender-based violence NGOs and stakeholders, draft an appropriate sexual harassment policy that is appropriate for the school environment and table this draft policy in the Portfolio Committee on Education within 30 days.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Kasim. This is a notice of motion, honorable members, therefore noted, and it's referred for a later debate at a later stage in accordance with Rule 133, subsection 1. Those were the only notices of motion I received. We go straight to the member statements. I received only 2. I will start with Honorable Botha.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, as we approach International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking on Monday, the 26th of June 2023, we need to understand that South Africa is not just a transit country for drugs. The country has also become a lucrative market for the manufacture and distribution of illicit drugs, both locally and internationally. The phenomena of substance abuse, especially among youth, is one of the leading problems facing our country today. The level at which drug and circulating and abused in various centers such as metros, townships, and villages, especially by young people, is of serious concern to us. Honorable Deputy Speaker, nationally, drugs are sold and used in broad daylight in South Africa. Drug addicts, driven by their cravings for the next fix, walk down neighborhood streets like zombies, some violent and dangerous. In most cases, they turn to crime to support their addiction. Provincially, drug-related cases also surged, with a total of 3,019 busts reported by the police across the Eastern Cape between January and March 2022. Current drug hotspots in the Eastern Cape is OR Tambo District, Buffalo City Metro, and Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. Of particular concern is that more than a third of drug-related crimes reported to the Eastern Cape Police in the first quarter of 2022 occurred in Nelson Mandela Bay. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the following is a real-life story. It involves a middle-aged Xhosa Mara from Forest Hill in Nelson Mandela Bay. She lives in daily fear while trying to protect herself, her toddler, and her mother, her elderly mother, from her drug-addicted son. She has suffered verbal abuse, been threatened with a weapon, physically assaulted, and had to revert to locking her and her family in a room to protect them from her own son. When it got too much for her, Deputy Speaker, she turned to the South African Police Services, the Department of Social Development, for help and assistance. They did not help her, as she was told that nothing can be done because the child is a minor and that she must approach the children's courts, which she has done in previous years, but without any success. Honourable Deputy Speaker, this is not a unique situation. This is the reality for many families and individuals in our province. In closing, we might argue and say that the solution to this situation is complex, but in essence, it highlights the fact that there must be a strong collaboration between government and various relevant stakeholders and the community to fight this scourge. The collaboration must ensure that cases of this nature are dealt with thoroughly and urgently by the relevant departments. In the broader context, understanding the social ills we face in South Africa, over and above investing heavily in substance abuse rehabilitation centres, this ANC government needs to be spending more resources on preventing and discouraging illicit drug use behaviour. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Botha. Honourable Magashela.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Good morning to you and the Premier, the Executive, and the members of this legislature, as well as the support staff. Deputy Speaker, noting that winter initiation season has commenced in the Eastern Cape, this passage to manhood, in which young males attend to be taught the values, principles, respect and accountability within their cultural tradition, does not kill but instill values which positively impact on the moral fiber of the societies and equip these young men to be responsible and upright young adults. As such, it is saddening that Eastern Cape has already registered 3 deaths of initiates in Buffalo City Metro in this winter season. And further, that all these 3 initiates were from Tanzania. As such, we impress on the ANC-led government to implement the Customary Initiation Act, which became effective on the 1st of September 2021, to the latter. Mindful that this piece of legislation on its own cannot be a panacea to all challenges engulfing the custom of male initiation, we recognize that the legislation does not take away but affirms the authority of custodians of the custom, the traditional leaders working with the communities. Families and communities must be vigilant and take full responsibility for passage to manhood for their children. No initiate should die or be injured. Acknowledge the work done by the Department of Culture, House of Traditional Leaders and all other social partners to ensure that circumcision is performed in a manner that does not undermine our culture. Plead to the parents always to counsel their children not to risk their lives and that they must wait to be of age and be medically assessed before they undergo initiation. Noting that some families are child-headed, schools must educate young boys regarding laws and processes to undergo when preparing for initiation school. Also plead to the surgeons to act in good faith and that they must always adhere to the rules and regulation of circumcision. believe that the passage to the manhood can be incident-free. One death is one too many. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable Premier, those were the two member statements. I will now hand over to you and your team.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Good morning to honorable members in the House, DG and all HODs and our guest today. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Fanta can say something, but of course, I think I agree with Honorable Botha that the challenge of drugs is a societal problem. It indeed needs a collective or a collaborative effort. If the member statements we were able to get it on time, surely would have been able to detail here what government is doing. But unfortunately, standing here, you might not be able to give that prompt responses. But in overall, the trust of the statement itself talks to the real issues that we are all facing. It's no longer an issue of opposition and government. It's a real crisis that we are faced with that needs a mobilization, a bottom-up approach, entire community participating, because indeed they are sold in broad daylight by our people. Young people are used in schools to sell drugs, etc. That information has been brought forward, and I know very well, community safety can say something as well, that police, where possible, they've been making follow-ups. I've been in Indwe. When I went to Indwe, when I was told about such situation, so-and-so is selling drugs here, and I had to activate police on the spot. Go there, do something. And the unfortunate part, maybe that also generals are here, is this issue that drug dealers are able to capture police. That's a problem that we come across. When they're supposed to be going there, it's same police who are alert and activate the drug dealer. So surely in the system, we've got to realize, and indeed this is ruining the future of our country, completely eroding the moral fiber of our society, and we are all witnessing this moral decay because of this problem. Those who are using drugs, if you interact with a young fellow who's using drugs, you get a sense that if you are into this thing, tick or what, you are out of yourself. You are no longer a human being. That's why you can kill someone easily like that. So this is a real problem that I fully concur with the honorable member around it, that it needs a collaborative effort. Surely this is what government is doing in ensuring that the entire ecosystem works together jointly in a very integrated way to respond directly to the problem. On Honorable Magashela, I was just saying Honorable Fanta and Honorable Ngata, they can speak onto this if time allows. On Honorable Magashela, Honorable Williams as well can come in. We've been on this mobilization. We've been seeing this decline. We don't want a decline. We want a zero death rate. If our young people are going for initiation, no, a single one must die. When we say Mabaya Bepila, Babuye Bepila, we mean that. But I can tell you, I was happy yesterday that Umhlobo and SAPC dedicated the whole of afternoon in their afternoon program, educating our people, traditional leaders, people of Umtata. They were broadcasting live in Umtata on this issue. People participating. We are always saying this thing. Blaming each other on this one is not going to be helpful now anymore. This has got nothing to do with traditional leaders. The issue of initiation has got something or everything to do with the family. It starts within home, you as father and mother, knowing what your child will be going through and what responsibilities and measures are you putting in place. By appointing the relevant people, amakhankatha afanelekileyo, ingqibi efanelekileyo ezawukwazi ukusebenza abantwana, wakugqiba uyilandelela. I'm saying this because we have been going through this myself at home. When I've got those young boys going through, whether are my sisters, I even live here where I stay, even if it's at 7 p.m. When I finish my work, I arrive there at 10, midnight. I spend a night there because I know the consequences of not doing that. Young people on their own will never be able. But young people, if they are taught properly from the start, You don't have to be there for the duration. They are able to take full responsibility, and it is always better in that way. So the issue of the initiation would really want to pass word of condolences to the family of the three young men who lost their lives. There are those who are losing their lives while they are alive, coming back from the initiation without their actually the manhood. So this is a challenge, which is a trauma that we're dealing with. We want community, all of us again, standing up. But problem, the illegal initiation. When we are parents sitting here, wake up, your son has gone through and you don't know. But someone old enough has acted on that child, has actually circumcised that child. So those are real issues. I agree with Honorable Makashela. The legislation on its own will never be a panacea. But us enforcing that legislation from home, ensuring that we take full responsibility. I know there are parents. You know, it's painful. Another father calls me from Dujwa, says, I'm taking my second son. 2 years ago, this father lost his son in the initiation. And then this father did everything. And he was staying there. When he narrated the story to me when I visited the family, he said, I was there, Premier, myself. I left this boy at this time. For me to wake up tomorrow being told that this boy is late, I couldn't understand. He says, I'm taking the second one. I want you, Premier, to come. Whatever that you can do, just to support. When I take out this child out of that, I want you to come here and be the one who makes sure that this boy goes through this. So I'm saying this is a painful thing in the society. You are not sure now anymore when you are taking your child. So all of us as members, let's mobilize. We have said so. The governing party said so. Its own organizational structures must go out in the society. All of us with our constituents' offices, go out where you are deployed. Make sure that we mobilize community, we all go there. It's a collective effort. All men know when we have got an initiation school there, ibhuma yindawo yokuhanjelwa ngamadoda, indoda noba iyagqitha iyoqokelela, igqithe ebakhwetheni ijonga abantwana babanjani, ibajonga abantwana futhi, izobona uba kuyadlalwa, izolazi nekhangathi baliyawuqonda umcimbi, kuba kaloku abantwana sibajonga mhlawumbi emveni kweentsuku ezithile njalo njalo. So ingumthetho, iprocess singayithetha mhlawumbi siyigqibe apha, but ifuna thina collectively. I know many men here who have taken that responsibility. Into yaloluko ebuhlungu imbi, omama bagcina abantwana in 9 months, babazise kuthi babakhulise babanike amadoda at 18 years amadoda abaqhomfe. We can't continue in that way. It is terrible and bad. All of us, we need to be working together. Thank you very much.
I think, Honorable Premier, you've covered virtually all ministries that are relevant, and all 5 minutes allocated to you. Just 1 minute, ma'am. No, you can just, I'm saying Premier has covered sufficiently all your departments.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Yes, indeed, we agree with the Honourable Member, Tadu Botha. The issue of drug and substance abuse in our country is the demon that is bedeviling our country. Yes, as a department, we have a master plan, drug master plan that we are busy with, and this week already we will be in Krisa, in Kraydok, where there's a high level of drug abuse and substance abuse. This master plan is helping young people. Even we have also program of TADA in schools where we are trying by all means, even the young ones, to take them out of the drugs. But this is a demon that need all of us to come together. It's a societal problem that need us all. Yes, we do have centers. We have the rehabilitation center, the NS Malchas in Nelson Mandela. That is a very good one. Unfortunately, it cannot take everyone, and that is the only center that we have as a government. How we wish all our district can have such center. It's a good one, and those that are there and coming out, they are coming out okay. But with this one that he is raising, Honourable Member, we are promising as a department to will make a full up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything I'm missing?
No, that's fine. Thanks, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I'll just add some few points when I debate.
Thank you very much. Honourable Williams, covered. I think the workshop Premier has provided clarifies all of us. Thank you very much, honourable members. Let me ask the Secretary to read the first order of the day. Or just before that, I've got special guests. They wrote to me yesterday, Honourable Premier, saying we are here tomorrow. And they've arrived. Dr. Mbali Bayeni, where is she? Oh, he. is accompanied by Katleho Nkomonye, all are children of our honorable member, Honorable Nkomonye. You can wave where you are. And we are also welcoming others. We can see that they say by Bone TV and they are inside Parliament today, and they are happy to see the members of Parliament, the Premier and the MECs sitting together debating issues of this nature. Because babuza kuxoxwa ntoni ba yonke le mihla. Now bafike bayiva ke namhlanje. Nizawubukela ke ngoku ingxoxo mpikiswano yemibutho elapha endlini yowiso-mthetho. May I invite the Secretary to read the first order of the day.
Consideration of vote number 15, Community Safety Appropriation Bill 2023.
Sizawucela ke ikomiti iye endaweni yayo sicele usihlalo. Honorable Dlelanga. I think kule committee zabai maiden speech yakhe as a chairperson. Honorable members, let me just remind you, if you know that you are going to debate, occupy these front seats so that we manage time. We must be out of here midday today. Over to you, Honorable Mlu. You've got 15 minutes.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, MECs, Honorable members, DG, SODs, our guests, Mulweni. Good morning. I hear that I bought a new suit. I must say that I take myself very serious. Allow me, Honorable Deputy Speaker, let me on behalf of our Provincial Committee, first and foremost, send words of condolences to the family of Honorable Bese, who lost his brother, and Honorable Matuane, Ndabeni, who lost his mother. We wish them strength during this difficult moment in their families. Let me go straight in the interest of progress to present this report. I must say that this report is just a budget of 115 million and some few thousands. But 75% of it goes to compensation of employees, and only 25% goes to goods and services. I'll quickly go to the findings and recommendations, doing so in the interest also of time and progress. The first finding speaks about that the department is still in the process of finalizing its organogram, depending on funding from the Provincial Treasurer, which will thereafter be submitted to DPSA. The department is commended for reaching employment equity target of 50-50 between males and females at the SMS level. In Lemos, the department established a new directorate named Community Policing and Partnership to increase its capacity in terms of personnel at district levels. The department has 6 funded vacant posts currently. The department is commended for its functional website. On recommendations, the department must ensure that its organogram is finalized and implemented. The department must also work on improving other categories in line with its equity plan. The department must ensure that there are sufficient funds for the new directorate before adding more burden to limited resources. This will compromise service delivery. The department must ensure that all vacant posts are filled as a matter of urgency. The department must secure the website to keep away cyber thieves and hackers from accessing sensitive information. Another program, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the first finding is on the finding A. Department will utilize 1.5 million from its budget to continue with providing safety patrollers to some schools across the province. There is no allocated budget for social sector expanded public work program incentive grant for the province. There are delays with the financialization of Buffalo City Metro application for Metropolis. The 1011 call center in most areas within the province is dysfunctional. Assault control in most police stations remain a challenge. The supply chain management red tape is restricting the goods service in most stations. Service delivery is being negatively affected by a smallest service, e.g. puncture and procurement of diesel for the generator. While the department has managed to decrease the stock theft at Waratambo by establishing a stock theft unit, it is still alarming at Elundini area. There are very few victim support centers, and those existence are poorly resourced. Honorable Deputy Speaker, inhlungu lento yokuba umuntu ahlukunyezwe phaya kuhlaleni asiwe police station kwindawo ahambe akhuseleka kuyo xa efika kuyo kufane nokuba kusengoku ebephaya kuhlaleni ibe le ndawo obekwa kuyo ingekho mgangathweni olungele ukuba ahlale kuyo. The department indicated that it would be able to utilize the entire 8.2 million for mobilization of communities against crime in hotspot areas. On recommendations, the department must urgently utilize or liaise with the National Department of Public Works to reimburse the set amount so as to ensure that their programs are not negatively affected. The department must expedite the engagement with the Provincial Department of COCTA to eliminate all impediments hindering the approval of the BCMM application for Metropolis. The department must urgently conduct an assessment of the 1011 centers and engage the Eastern Cape Southern Police Service on its findings and recommendations. The department must urgently conduct assessment to the police stations on the access control and speed up engagements with the Eastern Cape Southern Police Services on addressing the findings and recommendations pertaining to this. The department must engage the Eastern Cape SAPS Provincial Commissioner to liaise with the National Office on addressing this challenge as it hampers service delivery to communities within the province. The department must consider establishing a stock theft union to deal with the stock thefts in a London area if resource permits. The department must interact with the East International counterpart with regard to the challenges of the victim support centers. This is a national competence. The department must provide the committee with a comprehensive plan on how to be dealing with crime in hotspot areas. On general findings, there is a contradictory figures between the White Book and the Annual Operation Plan 2023-24 with regard to the budget of audit statements of 2019 to 2022. The committee noted the budget increase of the department of almost by 3 million, but also note that 75% goes to COE and only 25% goes to goods and services, which is inadequate to ensure the effective service delivery. The department received an annual audit opinion in the previous financial year, but planned to achieve a clean audit in the current financial year. So the delivery improvement plan has a different vision and a mission as to what is contained in the White Book. The lack of quality assurance resulted in the department submitting documents of poor quality, as some of the information is repetitive. On recommendations, the department must improve the quality of documents that it submits to the committee by ensuring it is quality assured. The department must approach Treasury with additional funds and ensure that there is a proper split between the funds for COE and goods and services. that they optimally utilize all funds appropriated to it, prioritizing service delivery. The department must make concerted efforts to achieve its targets of a clean audit in this financial year. The department must provide a committee with a correct vision and mission within 30 days. The department must improve its quality of information it submits to the department by ensuring that the information is quality assured. Only trying to conclude, Deputy Speaker, we request that the department must submit a progress report to the committee on steps taken to implement these resolutions within 30 days after the adoption of this report. As I conclude, let me thank the leadership of the department, led by MEC and SOD, for fellow committee members, our support staff, and thank for their cooperations and the work they've done on working on this report and during the engagements. Honorable members, crime and gender-based violence and femicide are a threat to the safety of our communities. I would like to make a current call to all that let's pull in one voice to ensure that the overall crime rate in our province is significantly reduced, to ensure that the residents and communities of our province feel safe at all times. In the view of the above findings and recommendations, the committee recommends that the budget be passed by the House. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, economy buzo eyango committee. Wonke umuntu ufuna safety. Thank you very much. Economy buzo eyakumphathiswa esuka kwendlu. Honorable Benjamin.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Honorable Deputy Speaker and the House. It's just if you look at Rule 13(1)(f) of our House rules, it says we must promote and mentor and oversee the transformation of the services in the police, in the transformation. It's just what we see in the House this morning. As Chair of the Women's Caucus, Chair, I'm just stating, in the document it says they've reached the 50-50, but what we are seeing today, we don't see it there. That's the only statement I would want to make. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable MEC.
Thanks, Honorable Speaker. I would like to comment on that when I debate there.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable members, Honorable Benjamin, you've heard that, ne? Thank you very much. Just to remind honorable members that in terms of the rules of this House, you don't cross in front of a member whilst the member is standing and speaking and addressing the House. Try by all means never to repeat that again, just to maintain the decorum, because ngamphazamisa esaqhuba xa usithi gqi phambi kwakhe. Thank you very much. I will invite Democratic Alliance, Honorable Von Brockenrode. Thank you very much. Honorable Member, we've got 12 minutes to debate.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, good morning. Honorable Premier, good morning. Member of your executives, members of this august House, HOD and SEPS, and the members of the media and members of the gallery, good morning. I greet you all in the wonderful name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I just want to say maybe the honorable member must become the speaker because she wants to direct us from the back seat. Okay. Honorable Deputy Speaker, crime is a significant problem in the Eastern Cape. The high level of violent crime, including of murder, assault and robbery, is one of our major problems. But this is compounded by the lack of effective policing, community engagement, and the economic opportunity that's contributing to this high level of crime and creating an unsafe environment for our residents. Now, most of the reliable tools to combat crime in South African Police Service are a significant problem. These stats has depicted that the Eastern Cape has plunged into a high rate of crime, significantly contributing by violent crime and murders, and as well as property and sexual offences crime. This further exacerbated by the limit of resources, understaffing and poor infrastructure within South African Police Service. This hinder effective crime prevention. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I commend the Department of opening up a new police station in Chatty. But the question remains, will this station be effectively? Will they have effective and efficient staff? Will they have enough resources? Or will it be the same case like in the Kenton-on-Sea police station, whereby this station has been without stationery for the past 2 years and no Wi-Fi to service the community? Honourable Deputy Speaker, year on year the budget of this department is shrinking. Now MEC, to you Deputy Speaker, MEC, I'm not going to highlight the Western Cape, but Gauteng's budget for community safety is 3.5 billion. To you, Deputy Speaker, to the Premier, I'm appealing to you, Honourable Premier. We cannot and will not accept a budget of 115 million rand for this department. It is inadequate. It is inadequate to render the service. We appeal to the Premier to make provision for additional funding so that we can do our work and oversight South African police in this department. 87 million of the 115 million is already towards compensation of employees. It leaves us with 26 million towards goods and service and merely 2.8 million rand for capital assets. The allocation of this budget has many challenges. One of the challenges is the effective monitoring of police stations during the financial year, insufficient community mobilizations against crime. It is also hampering the research capacity and tracking of data to make our analysts and projections for the next year. It also impacts on the digitalization monitoring of tools like ITC. It brings me to the point, Deputy Speaker, to fight crime and to service our community in this province, we need more resources. We need more human capital, and it also needs to execute the mandate of this community service. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Eastern Cape has 7 police stations under the top 30 for murder, namely New Brighton, Mtata, Ngobo, KwaZakele, Bichi, Dichwa, and Beresdorp. The sad reality is that crime has become a law unto themselves. It treats this province like a wild west, where gunslingers can run amok and law-abiding citizens is at the mercy of their own selves because we cannot deliver service. Sometimes residents are living in fear and victims are suffering and the heartbreak of losing a loved one. In a recent IQP to Honourable Stevenson, and I quote the MEC saying that in the past 3 years, more than 100,000 calls from people in East London were seeking the assistance of police in a time of crisis or need. More than 100,000 people seeked the assistance of the police during the 3-year period. But here comes the fact. These calls were not answered. So which means the lives and people's lives was put in danger because of the ineffectiveness of a 10-111 center. The 10111 center should be the emergency number that people can reach, and it should be responded to when there is a crisis. These calls are going unanswered, and yet we expect our residents to live in a society without fear or favor. MEC, you also revealed in your response that the flying squad of East London and 10111 Centre were overstaffed, but the K9 unit were understaffed, and your reason stated as that was the lack of resources like vehicles. Deputy Speaker, having said that, several staff shortages, absenteeism, load shedding, and damage to infrastructure has also crippled the Nelson Mandela 10111 Emergency Call Centre. This is further exacerbated and left residents to their own accord. We cannot allow this to happen in a time of crisis and when people need the help. Heads must roll. These centres must become fully equipped and vibrant. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Nelson Mandela Bay Flying Squad has no available vehicles for 4 days in February this year. However, the District Commissioner based in the Mount Road Police Station has been driving a new high-performance BMW as a patrol vehicle to visit stations or be escorted from station to station. This is surely not the case at point. Vehicles that are designated for highway patrol and high-performance vehicles should be used in order to combat crime. Honourable Deputy Speaker, it brings me to my second point. The fact that we have CPFs at station levels that's functional, but yet we cannot even compensate them. In a latest response, as late as this week, the MEC again responded that there was 6.5 million set aside for CPFs. However, there is no tangible plan because there was a meeting on the 13th and 14th of June, and yet we are sitting with this dilemma that we cannot have functional CPFs, which should be the first and foremost protocol to engage SAPs from the community side. Furthermore, we're sitting with a dilemma in the report, and we know that the Provincial CPF Board has still got some issues to be sorted out. There is some still discrepancy as to a report, a recommendation, and that needs to be sorted out. Honourable Deputy Speaker, it also saddened us to know that the department's organogram is still not being finalized. Having said that, you cannot not have an organogram, but yet you need to implement service delivery. We are appealing once more to the MEC to speed up that process, and we want to assure that we are with the MEC, when you made your statement, to engage national, provincial treasury to seek more funding, because we cannot be a department that is not rendering the service that needs to be done for our community. Crime is on the rise. Crime is affecting every one of us, and we are saying enough is enough. Honourable Deputy Speaker, moving to closure. People want this province to be a province of hope, a province of real opportunity, and we want to find that this province can be a capital state where people are safe, that can move around, can play in, and can enjoy themselves. The Democratic Alliance is determined to fight for law and order and to ensure that we have safe communities in all our areas. It is with those few words that, unfortunately, that the Democratic Alliance cannot support this inadequate budget of 150 million. We need more money Honorable Premier, in order to do our work. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Von Brockenroder. I will now invite the African National Congress, Honorable Keleku. 18 minutes, Honorable.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier and your Executive Council, Honorable members of the Eastern Cape Legislature, our esteemed guests, the community of the Eastern Cape Legislature. Ndivumeleni ndinibulise ngale mini yanamhlanje. Honorable Speaker, June was declared as the Youth Month. We therefore commemorate the June 16 uprising that began in Soweto and spread countrywide intensely, changed the socio-political landscape in South Africa. Events that prompted the uprising can be traced back to policies of the apartheid government that resulted in the introduction of the Buntu Education Act in 1953. On the 16th of June 1976, between 3,000 and 10,000 students mobilized by the South African Student Movement Action Committee supported the Black Conscious Movement, marched peacefully to demonstrate and protest against the government's directive. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I feel honored and appreciate the opportunity granted to me by the African National Congress, the oldest liberation movement, and fellow South African citizens to represent them in this August House, serving people that has put their trust on us. Honorable Speaker, the African National Congress-led government is committed to a crime-free, corruption-free, and highly ethical society and a government that is accountable to the people. However, crime is a societal matter, therefore the government cannot be able to fight it alone. Honorable Speaker, the continuous use of illegal firearms, explosives, and other ammunition in the commission of the violent syndicates and organized crime is a great concern. Honorable Speaker, I must say that I'm as well a victim. Last week, on the 15th of June, I got robbed at gunpoint. What a terrifying experience. However, Honorable Speaker, the increased gender-based violence and femicide that is more dominant in rural areas has become a great concern. Global estimates published by WHO indicate that about 35% of women worldwide have experienced either physical and sexual intimate partner violence or non-partner sexual violence in their lifetime. I quote the words of our first democratic president of the ANC-led government, Utadu Nelson Mandela, who once said, "Freedom cannot be achieved unless women have been emancipated from all forms of oppression." We rely on concerted efforts by the department, the police, community members, and social organizations at large to manage and eradicate this scourge. We noted the efforts done by the Department of Safety. The implementation of the court watch brief, which assists in tracing the causes that were struck out of court. The department has made attempts to bring cases back to the court role so that justice can prevail. Gangsterism is one of the most severe crime problems in South Africa, and the rate of involvement of youth in gangsterism is increasing, particularly in northern areas of Gqeberha. The influence of gangs and syndicates has spilled over into secondary schools. This has resulted in increased gang membership amongst learners and gang-related incidents on school grounds. Secondary schools have become hotspots for unsuspecting victims. Honorable Speaker, we commend the department for achieving a clean audit for several consecutive years. This is an indication there is work in progress. This should be converted to service delivery issue in our communities. The ANC manifesto is explicitly clear on the eradication of crime, thus building safer communities in our country. Through you, Honorable Speaker, the work of the department is central to the realization of the ideals outlined in the Freedom Charter, which today find expression in the Constitution. The Constitution of the Republic asserts the rights of all citizens to be safe and secure. Therefore, this department is obliged to fulfill its mandate and playing oversight to the functioning of the police and to facilitate social crime prevention programs. Similar sentiments and directives also find expression in the National Development Plan, which is envisaged to build safer and secure communities. Honorable Speaker, combating crime is crucial as violent in post-democratic South Africa demonstrable cuts across social status and the safety of individuals is threatened not only in public spaces but also in domestic settings. We are quite mindful that the budget has shrunk immensely. Nevertheless, the department has constitutional mandate to monitor SAPS for providing effective service delivery. In spite of limited financial resources, the department is deliberately committed in their work. However, Honorable Speaker, budget cut crippled the department in performing their mandate fully, knowing that the Department of Community Safety is at the center of ensuring that we are in a crime-free society. But the budget limitations remain a serious concern for the department in reacting out of their communities. Honorable Speaker, despite the measures put in place to combat violent crime, levels of violent crime are rising. The scourge of gender-based violence is one of the persistent crimes that needs serious attention. The crime directed against women and children is alarming, and all of us need to stand up to defeat the scourge. As we have indicated, our freedom and democracy is meaningless if we fail to protect women and children. Already, the department, working with other stakeholders, has conducted awareness programs in various communities as part of educating them about their rights and the importance of joining hands in fighting against this scourge. Honorable Speaker, through it all, the department has made a progress on the operation of Buffalo City Metro District Office as a separate and district office from Amatole District. This is of vital importance for spreading the wings for safer communities. On school safety, the department is doing its best in creating a safe environment at our schools to make them conducive in learning and teaching. We therefore, Honorable Speaker, appeal to our communities to work together with the police, as it has indicated that crime is a social matter, therefore government cannot be able to fight it alone. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, we acknowledge the hard work by the police officers in our province. As we all know, police work is often exhausting, dangerous, and even traumatic. Police are generally at the end of all community problems. It is no secret that the police are no longer safe. Their lives are at risk, even though they are expecting to protect the same people that they are killing them. Honorable Speaker, the African National Congress supports the bill. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Keleku. I will now invite the Honorable MEC to conclude the debate. Honorable Ngata.
Yeah. Thank you. Greetings, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, and members of the House, the HOGs, and the senior managers present, the delegation of SAPS led by General Dladla, and distinguished guests, and good morning. Let me join Honorable Zilanga in conveying our message of condolences to the families of Honorable Bese and Honorable Ndabeni for their loss, and wishing them all the strength as they face this difficult moment. And also take the opportunity to congratulate Honorable Zilanga for his election or appointment as our new chairperson of the Portfolio Committee. Congratulations, Mhlekazi. And also thanking the former chair, Honorable Lobishe, for her work as chair of the Portfolio Committee, and wishing her all the best as Deputy Executive Mayor of Nelson Mandela Metro. Honorable Chair, I wish to take this opportunity to acknowledge the report, the recommendations of the Portfolio Committee, and committing the department to respond as per the prescribed rules of the legislature. And wish to add that as we continue to engage with the provincial treasurer regarding the inadequate budget, we appreciate the support of the Portfolio Committee and want the support of the whole House in this regard. For there is nothing unclear, honorable members. For the department has submitted a detailed business case, to Provincial Treasury with all the service delivery imperatives that needs to be addressed by the department, which includes, among other things, the additional funding for the revised organizational structure that you referred to, changing the department from community safety, from communitalizing to community safety, and therefore needed to adjust in line with this new mandate, and therefore meaning additional responsibilities. And so these issues are sort of combined: the organizational structure, the social prevention programs, ICT infrastructure, and so on. Furthermore, honorable members, the business case was also presented to the DG of the province, and also the portfolio committee, has this business plan. And combating crime, if I may comment on the issues raised by Honorable Botha in this context, our approach in combating crime is informed by our safety provincial strategy anchored on 6 pillars. One among other critical issues as our approach is the whole issue of a preventative approach in fighting crime, which is intelligence-driven as our approach. And we do note that the fourth quarter crime statistics indicates that crime, as we said, is rising in the districts, which is OR Tambo, Nelson Mandela, and Buffalo City Metro. And how we allocate our resources take this into considerations so that we can deploy accordingly. And therefore, this high crime spot, the situation is evidenced by the mass shootings and the killings we have witnessed in Mthatha, Gqeberha, and Port St. John's. And criminals in these hotspots districts continue to disturb the peace of our communities. And we have since taken a decision to establish a task team which has been deployed in OR Tambo, Nelson Mandela district, to stabilize the situation in hotspots areas. And the districts, the provincial organized crime has been tasked to investigate all cases that are emanating from Amajola. And I've been there with the Minister Cele, and a task team has been deployed, and we intend to use the autism school there. Education has agreed as a temporal police station, so that there is a police station based there at Amajola. There is relative stability so far. And both the Minister of Police and the Minister of Defense have approached the President with a view to getting a deployment of SANDF as a support to SAPS on the Amajola situation. And an intervention has also been established in Nelson Mandela Bay district, where a task team comprising crime intelligence has been formed to curb all these serious crimes. And I'm quite glad, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that as I stand here, in all these serious cases that we have seen, SAPS have been able to make arrests in almost all of them. What we are banking on now, and SAPS is working very hard to ensure successful prosecution, so that people who do wrong are brought to book. Because failure to arrest, failure to convict criminals can lead to more escalating levels of crime because of lack of consequences. And we are quite determined to ensure that we arrest the levels of crime. And Crime Intelligence Section 102 investigation are also conducted, concentrating on the most wanted persons, and also concentrating on the DNA and fingerprints, especially on repeat offenders. And all the operations are monitored and led by senior officers. This includes disruptive operations that are taking place as part of the fight against, against drugs, disruptive operations, roadblocks, raids. Those are some of the things. And the key to this, our community safety strategy, is the community mobilization, which is quite very critical, because many of the crimes are difficult to police because they happen between people who know each other and within households, you know, as we repetitively as always say here. And for this reason, as MEC, I've embarked on an outreach program under the slogan, Musa ukuthula kusonakala. And to all affected districts where burning, you know, crime-related matters has been flagged. And this is a slogan that we are receiving positive response to communities to this, you know, slogan, Musa ukuthula kusonakala. People are beginning to be active citizens in this whole fight. And the department has therefore spread the 8.2 million allocated for the mobilization of communities against crime in hotspot areas across all districts in order to ensure proper intervention into hotspot areas. And the intervention in all districts have been led, you know, by myself in these instances. And the challenges confronting 10111 call center, honorable members. As part of resolving challenges confronting 10111 call center, the department will commence with the assessment of all 4 centers from the next quarter of this financial year. After each visit, a report with recommendations will be submitted to the provincial commissioner, you know, and will closely monitor the implementation of such recommendations. Maybe I must add that the absence of the provincial commissioner was discussed between myself and her, because there are senior officers who have retired, others about to retire, like General Gunene retiring at the end of this month. There is a function, a farewell function that has been organized, and I've agreed that she must attend that one, and wish to take this opportunity to thank all the officers who have just recently retired and those who are about to retire, thanking them for their contribution in our country, you know, serving loyally as officers, and wishing them all the best going forward. Regarding access control in most police stations, the National Monitoring Tool has a section that deals with the assessment of access control in police stations. And for the current financial year, all 199 police stations will be assessed. Reports on the findings with recommendations again will be submitted to the provincial commissioner and her management, and will monitor those. And on Buffalo City Metro, this is the department has noted the finding and the recommendations on the portfolio committee for the finalization of this matter. The department is in the process of consolidating all the issues raised with regard to the budget process to support the establishment of the Metro Police in compliance with regarding to the sustainability of such establishment. And in line with Section 64A1, SAPS Amendment Act 83 of 1998, as MEC, I will satisfy myself with the finalization of the application as per the request of the Metro. And the approval of the establishment will improve, we believe, the policing service in the Metro. And in principle, we would want this to move forward as soon as possible, as which will contribute quite positively in our fight against crime. On stock theft, honorable members, indeed, we have managed to decrease stock theft of OR Tambo, but it is rising in some parts of the province, including Elundini. And in dealing with the challenge, SAPS in the province has since deployed 2 members for stock theft at Maclear. They will be investigating all Elundini area cases. And already SAPS, with its stakeholders, have conducted an operation where 200 cattle were found in the bushes. And these were collected by their owners. And they built a big multi-departmental operation whose main focus was on stock theft, was conducted on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of June, which yielded positive results. And there were police forces in excess of 100 members, and 2 members were identified. And we really urge, you know, members and the community to put our support as we fight against crime to members of SAPS. Many of them are dedicated men and women to serve our country. But like all sectors of society, there are rotten potatoes. But let's not allow those rotten potatoes to project as if this is what SAPS is about. SAPS is not about that. Even those who get captured by drug lords, they do not represent what SAPS is about. Like criminal elements among politicians, they don't represent who we are in whatever society. So it's important that as we approach these high levels of crime, let us build confidence to SAPS. Let us not allow the erosion of the confidence to the police to take the toll.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we'll lose the fight and the criminals will win. And from our side, we're quite confident that
you
we're
very
going to
much,
defeat the levels of crime with these dedicated men and women of SAPS.
Thank you very much, Honorable
Oh,
MC.
thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. Honorable members, now I put the report. Any objection? Sure. Thank you very much, Honorable members. There being none. Ndizawucela ukwenje nje before sizawungena kumsebenzi obalulekileyo. General Dladla, that does not mean you are going to leave the chamber. We are coming to appropriations now. I-department funa ukuyazi uba imali ayi-approve wena okanye hayi. Amongst us, we've been joined by Kanya Nandi Nkopane, Mpho Mantombi Mginqi. Yes. Ukho Manjunju Mginqi. Yes, Manjunju. Lieto Mhwesi Nkopane. Nkosi yam, i-last born yanamhlanje ke le. Ibe ngu-Osi Phopho Zizipho Gada. Thank you, girls. That's MEC Nkopane family. You are welcome. Siyanamkela kule ndlu somthetho. And I hope njengoba bepha phezulu njengenye imini bazawuba lapha ezantsi. And I hope you have passed your second term examination, second quarter, I think. Thank you very much. Nizosibonisa reports ke ngenye imini. I will now ask the secretary to read the second order of the day.
Consideration of the Appropriation Bill 2023, Bill 1 of 2023, Second Adjustment Appropriation Bill, Bill 2 of 2023, and the Finance Bill, Eastern Cape, Bill 3 of 2023.
Yes. Just before the chairperson takes over, let me make this indication. Honourable members, please take note that there are 3 reports in the ATC that you have in front of you from the Portfolio Committee of Finance and Provincial Expenditure. At the request of the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Finance, the presentation of the 3 reports will be presented at once. That being the report of the whole Appropriation Bill 2023, followed by the reports on the Second Adjustments Appropriation Bill and 2023, and lastly, the Finance Bill 2023. All 3 of them will be presented at once. The chairperson will therefore present as mentioned, and the reports are all included in the ATC, and although it will not be presented individually as I indicated, members may refer to it in the time allocated for debate, as it will also be put for adoption by the House after the committees of the whole House. Thank you very much. May I now invite the acting chairperson, Honorable Saziwa, to present 15 minutes, Honorable member.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Let me acknowledge the already established protocol in the House. Our report starts from page 266.
Committee members, please.
We also note in the area where usually all senior managers of the various departments occupy, that today we are pleased to see many of those heads being in here today. However, I want to implore them to be consistent in their presence. Secondly, as you can note, it seems as if in terms of heads of departments, we have male-dominated heads of departments. If my memory serves me, I think we have only 5 in the province who are females. The terms of reference of the committee was to consider the appropriation bill B1/2023, Eastern Cape. One, the House to note the method of work. Item number 3, consideration of the bill. The committee considered the bill. 4, adoption of the bill. The committee considered the bill and agreed as follows. 1, the committee agreed to the principle of the bill. And 2, the committee noted the content of the bill. Motion of desirability. The chairperson moved that this is in the opinion of the committee desirable that the appropriation bill B1/2023 Eastern Cape be adopted to provide for the appropriation of money from the Provincial Revenue Fund for the requirements of the province of the Eastern Cape in the 2023-2024 financial year, and to provide for matters incidental to thereto. Committee report. The committee, having considered the appropriation bill B1/2023 Eastern Cape, referred to it, adopts the bill without amendments. The committee therefore moves for the adoption of the bill. However, the committee would like to comment as follows in terms of findings. A, the Department of Health continues to have challenges due to medical legal claims, and this is still a threat in the department and the whole province. Provincial Treasurer, working with the Office of the Premier, has been appealing and making interventions towards these medical legal claims, but they still have huge impact in the province. The legislature continues to be underfunded, especially in the core business, which makes oversight business to be lacking, as there are always no funds. This is a continuous finding. There is an increase in crime rate in the province, especially in the OR Tambo District Municipality and the Nelson Mandela Metro. The broadband project is expected to be completed by March 2025 with 2,700 government sites connected. However, the contract is a 10-year one for use of broadband as a service. The province will therefore continue utilizing the broadband under the contract until March 2032. The Provincial Legislature has not been part of the broadband project, and as such, no fiber installation has been extended to the institution. Inappropriate data system in the scholar transport management regime in the province makes it difficult to detect over and underpayments of service providers. Due to this, it is also impossible to detect double payments. In some instances, this creates negative consequences to the service providers who end up losing trust in the system. The provincial administration has no follow-up through with regard to some infrastructure projects like the Asketin Road construction in the Chris Hani District Municipality, and some red hubs initiated as in Nocha have since become white elephants. The province continues to have high budget on the compensation of employees, whereas departments of education and health suffer on funds for service delivery. The committee rejects the formula of equitable share, use of population statistics to allocate funds in the province as the only variable. The Department of Education for the past 9 years did not obtain a clean audit outcome. We therefore want the House to note the recommendations that the committee is making. On the second report, we note the terms of reference was to consider second adjustment appropriation bill B2/2023 Eastern Cape. We would like the House to note the method of work. The committee did consider the bill. The committee considered the bill as agreed as follows. The committee agreed to the principle of the bill, and the committee agreed to the content of the bill. Motion of desirability. The chairperson moved. The committee agreed to the motion of desirability. put by the chairperson that the second adjustment appropriation bill be adopted to appropriate amounts of money for the requirements of the province of the Eastern Cape for the financial year ending 31st March 2023 and to provide for matters incidental thereto. Committee report. It is in the opinion of the Political Committee desirable that the bill, second adjustment appropriation bill, B2/2023 Eastern Cape, be adopted without amendments. As part of the provincial reprioritization, the following departments surrendered funds as they were declared as unspent. 1. Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism, DDIT, had 30.2 million rands, surrendered. The Department of Health had a reduction of 7.4 million rands. The Department of Education had a reduction of 100 million rands. The Department of Human Settlements had an increase of 84.1 million rands. To appropriate an initial amount, the following institutions was allocated funds. Because once they are underspent or not spent, they are given somewhere else. Provincial Legislature was given 30 million rands on adjustment. Environments, the following departments were affected. An amount of 50 million rands was shifted within the Office of the Premier to assist tertiary institutions. The following amounts, therefore, were given to each of the institutions. Walter Sisulu got 20 million rands, University of Fort Hare, 15 million rands, Nelson Mandela University, 10 million rands, Rose University, 5 million rands. An amount of 12.2 million rands has been shifted within the Department of Rural Development and Agrarian Reforms. Ex gratia payments by Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs amounting to 1.6 million rands allocated to ex-members of the House of Transitional Leaders for the financial year ending 31st March 2023 and to provide for matters incidental thereto. The committee, however, have the following comments. It is improper for the legislature to reduce funds on core business and allocate more funds on Program 1 as it compromises the core mandates of the institution, more so on oversight. The committee rejects the occurrence of the funds surrendered by the Department of Education. The Provincial Treasury indicated that the red flags were raised around July 2022 for Education Department to do recovery plans. The committee is of the view that the shifting of funds within the OTP to tertiary institutions suggests poor planning, and the OTP should consider having these in their annual performance plans and explore ring-fencing these funds so that universities do not use them for anything else other than student debt relief. The third report is on the finance and provincial expenditure dated 16 March 2023. We want to request the House to note the terms of reference which were to consider Finance Bill B3/2023 Eastern Cape. We would like the House to note the method of work. The committee considered the bill, the adoption of the bill. The committee considered the bill and agreed as follows. The committee agreed to the principle of the bill, and B, the committee agreed to the content of the bill. Motion of desirability, the chairperson moved. The committee agreed to the motion of desirability put by the chairperson that the Finance Bill Eastern Cape be adopted for the financial year ending 31st March 2023 and to provide for matters incidental thereto. Committee report. It is in the opinion of the Provincial Committee desirable that the bill, Finance Bill B3/2023 Eastern Cape be adopted without amendments for the financial year ending 31st March 2023 and to provide for matters incidental thereto. We so move, Honourable Acting Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. That was very succinct. Are there clarities, Honourable Members, directed to the committee? None. Oh, sorry. Honourable Malamlela.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Mine is on page 268. It's only one chair. The other one will go to the MEC. I think it's I under the findings. It says the committee rejects the formula of equitable share use of population statistics to allocate funds in the province, which I fully agree with. But then my problem, when you go to the recommendations, the office of, it reads as follows, I think it's I, ne? Yeah. Where is it now, the recommendations? Yeah. It says the provincial treasury must ensure that the formula used is reviewed. My problem, possible they will be able to explain what is it that the committee is possible proposing in that review, so that at least there is a kind of a guidance. That's the clarity from the committee chair. Thank you very much.
Honorable committee members?
Thank you, Acting Speaker, and thanks to Honorable Lamlela. We reject the use of population numbers as the only formula that can allow central government to distribute funds. We're saying then that must not be the only variable used. We must also look at the underdevelopment of that particular province and economic status. Hence, therefore, we are saying central government has reviewed that formula to focus only on the issue of population. Must be able to compare apples with apples. For instance, in the Eastern Cape, if you want to improve infrastructure, the first month, a huge chunk of funds are going to go to what is called bulk infrastructure before you can even put the top structure. That's why, therefore, our proposal is that part of review will be to use other variables other than the issue of numbers only. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, committee members. You can go back to your seats and invite this House if there are questions directed to the MEC. Only one, Honorable Lamlela.
Honorable Speaker, again. Mine again is on page 267. And I hope the MEC will assist in the office of the Premier. On E, the Provincial Legislature has not been part of the broadband project, and as such, no fibre installation has been extended to the institution. I'm just curious to know, because we are experiencing network problems in this legislature. Why has it not been part of that broadband, Honorable Speaker? Thank you very much.
Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The finding is correct, but the Office of the Premier is considering the matter for the legislation.
Thank you. Let's go to the debate. I will now invite Democratic Alliance, Honorable Kasim.
Honorable Deputy Speaker,
I can see you've got 36 minutes.
I wonder, Honorable Deputy Speaker, at the end of my 36 minutes, will we still have a quorum in this House? Honorable Deputy Speaker, fellow South Africans, I greet you with the universal greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Provincial Appropriation Bill before the House is evidence of a government that has truly lost touch with the plight of ordinary South Africans across our province. How a government plans to spend public funds will tell you everything you need to know about what matters to them. As an example, this appropriation bill proposes that we only spend 4.6 cents of every provincial rand on payments for capital assets. Whilst the Honourable Premier has been vocal about economic growth and stimulating the economy by following an, and I quote, infrastructure-led growth agenda, Honourable Premier, the Honourable Premier's budget tells a different story and is allocated elsewhere. The total budgeted to pay employees in the province has risen in the current budget by 2.4%, with an additional 1.4 billion rand sent to be spent on COE this financial year. This has crowded out expenditure on goods and services and capital assets, which has seen a reduction of 2.5% and 1% respectively. Expenditure on COE is set to make up 66.1% of the total receipts of the province and 64.7% when taken as a percentage of the total receipts plus the additional 2 billion rand from the Provincial Revenue Fund. This is well in excess, Honourable Deputy Speaker, of the 60% target for the province. And if the province were to stabilise the cost of employment at around 60% of provincial expenditure, we would be able to free up around 4.3 billion rand for goods and services and infrastructure-related expenditure, in effect, freeing up resources desperately needed, for example, better school infrastructure, rectification of houses, adequate medicinal supplies, and the fixing of provincial roads. Honourable Deputy Speaker, this is indeed typical of ANC governments in general. Less money for services and infrastructure and more money for administrative and employment costs. This is because the welfare of our people will always play second fiddle to the insatiable need for ANC cadres to be rewarded with patronage so as to secure support for the prevailing faction at the next ANC conference. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I hear that the Honourable Premier's, one of the members of his provincial leadership, Lulama, is already organising against the Premier. I read in the Sunday World that he sent in a different list of youth leaders as for the National Working Committee, Honourable Premier. I promise you that doesn't happen in our provincial leadership in the Eastern Cape, in the DA. You see, the problem here is that the next ANC, I've got 36 minutes, I can wait. The problem here is that the next ANC Provincial Congress is years away. They've just had their Provincial Congress last year. And yet, and I'll tell you why, I'll explain to you why it's our business. If you ask the question, please wait for the response. I'll tell you why it's our business. The next ANC conference is years away. And yet the internal battles are starting from now already. So it never stops. You end the Provincial Congress, the battles start immediately afterwards. So instead of our government in the province being able to focus on the needs of the province, to take difficult decisions, whoever is in government needs to always watch their back. So instead of taking difficult decisions in the interest of growing our economy and increasing much needed service delivery, they need to ensure that the budget is geared towards protecting whoever is in charge. Now, can you imagine, Honourable Deputy Speaker, if we had to say, let's consolidate the wage bill of the province? I can tell you immediately, the ANC's base in the province, and particularly in the internal structures, would go into a mutiny. And that is why ANC politics affect what is budgeted for the province. And Honourable Deputy Speakers, we need difficult decisions to be made now more than ever in order to free up funds which can be prioritized to ensure a better run province. Recently, children at schools across our province were hungry for weeks because the Department of Education delayed the payment of school nutrition funds to schools. Now, when we asked the department to come and account to the Education Committee, this was their excuse. The excuse was that load shedding delayed the capturing of information at departmental offices needed for the verification of beneficiaries. Here's an example of children going hungry because our spending in the province hasn't been aligned to respond to service delivery barriers. Now, I've asked about what is budgeted for load shedding resilience measures so as to ensure that we prevent services shedding, which is currently happening in the Eastern Cape. And the answer given was to talk about subsidies given by the national government for individuals to install solar panels. That's the answers that we received. We said, what measures have been put in place to shield our province from load shedding, to ensure that we have a resilient province in terms of our departments? And the answer was, well, there was an announcement of a 25% subsidy for individuals in order to install rooftop PV solar panels. This basically means that nothing, there's no strategy, there's no plan, there's no budget that has been set aside in order to ensure that our departments are specifically resilient for load shedding in the Eastern Cape. Of course, if you're going to spend most of your budget on patronage, you're not going to have money to set aside in order to respond to the threats that are currently facing the province at the moment. In the Western Cape, under a DA government, their budgets prioritize our people instead of patronage. And because of this, they are able to spend on load shedding resilience efforts. They have given 89 million rand to municipalities to purchase backup generators for the treatment and supply of water services, which means that when the load shedding goes on, the water still continues to flow in the Western Cape municipalities. They have also budgeted R1 billion over the MTF to respond to the energy crisis. We haven't done the same. They've budgeted R1 billion over the MTF period in order to respond to the energy crisis. And they're doing this through securing diesel to keep essential public services running during load shedding. They help buffer schools from load shedding by funding the installation of energy-saving LED lights and the installation of rooftop PV solar solutions. And they are providing poorer households with emergency power packs that help reduce the impact of load shedding on a daily basis. Now, under the ANC, only ministers get shielded from load shedding. Indeed, Honourable Deputy Speaker, the DA is the only truly pro-poor party that cares about our people and puts our money where our mouths are. The DA cannot be complicit in supporting budgets that further patronage rather than responding to the immediate needs of our people. Now, yesterday, during the debate on Vote 12, the Honourable Dimaza accused anyone who votes against a budget put before the House as wanting that particular department to not have a budget at all. This accusation, Honourable Deputy Speaker, is not only disingenuous, Honourable Dimaza, but it is also dangerous. We have a separation of powers between the executive and the legislature for a reason. As representatives of the public, our job is to scrutinize the budgets that are put forward by the executive, and if we believe that those budgets need to be amended, we should vote against it until they present an acceptable budget that serves the needs of our people. If we must all just support what is put before us, then why do we have a legislature at all? Honourable Dibaza went on to say that they, the ANC, have the numbers, so they don't care. This not only shows deep arrogance, but also that he doesn't understand his role as a member of the legislature. Now, I know that a lot of MPLs in the ANC that don't agree with some of these budgets and would like to rather pass a better draft. However, they are forced to vote for them like voting cattle because they have been reduced to being just a rubber stamp of the executive. And that is why we've had this debate about the Money Bills Committee. Because many ANC MPLs would like to have an input on the budget. I know there are ANC MPLs that would like to have certain changes made. And they now believe that the Money Bills process will be their opportunity to do so. But we already have a power as members of the legislature. We have the power to say to the executive, if you don't change the following things, we're not going to pass your budget. But ANC MPLs don't use that power. And that is why the executive, every single year, ignores the recommendations of the reports of this House. I would do the same. If you're going to just keep passing my budgets every single year without any consequences, then I'm going to, with impunity, ignore your recommendations because you have shown me that you're only going to rubber stamp what we put before you. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the suggestion that not supporting a budget of a department...
Honourable Kasim, your time is saved. There is a hand on what rule? Honourable Member, are you raising your hand?
Thanks, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I want to, just on the rule, ask the member that please don't run away after I have debated. That he must not run away. That rule, that must not run away after he has debated.
Yeah, Mkhalel, after the debate. Please proceed, Honourable Kasim.
Yeah, I'm sure the Honourable
Okay,
Dimaza is going to
sorry.
come for me in his 18
Sorry,
minutes.
Honourable Kasim, there's another hand. There's another hand, sorry. Your time is saved, sir. Honourable Nkomonye, on what rule are you raising your hand?
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I rise on Rule 80, subsection 2.
Okay.
That the rule says a member can request another member to take a question. Chomi, can you be able to take my question? Don't be scared.
Go ahead.
Okay, he is prepared, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much. The question is, the Honourable Member just said now they would not be passing the budget. So the question is, now that the budget is now being presented and has been spent already, a portion of it has been spent already, what must we do? Must we put stop to everything? And what would be the implications of that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Honourable Kasim.
Let me deal with that question, Honourable Deputy Speaker. As you have said, the budget have not yet been passed, but money has already been spent, which means you have answered your own question. Because just because we have not yet passed the budget as the legislature doesn't mean that spending have just stopped in departments. No, because there are deadlines, okay, in terms of when budgets need to be passed by. What I am saying to MPLs in this House, we have the power to hold the executive to ransom. We have that power. Yes, to ransom. No. Please. We are all elected by members of the public. We all have constituents. If you believe strongly that a budget is not going to serve our people efficiently and effectively, we have the power to say to the executive, we are not going to pass this budget until you bring us a version that is going to serve the needs of our people. The reason why the executive never takes the legislature seriously is because the legislature have said to them, give us anything, we will pass it, we will rubber stamp it. And therefore, we have absconded our power as MPLs in the legislature.
Resume.
The implication is the following. The next time there's a budget that is brought to this House, the executive will look very carefully at the recommendations that are made by the legislature and put an acceptable version before us. That's the implication. Okay, you say that they have already. No? Let's take some of the recommendations. Let's take some of the recommendations that are before this House. One of the recommendations is that the amounts that have been set aside for the provincial legislature and the way that the legislature budget has been put together is not sufficient for MPLs to be able to do oversight. I know all MPLs agree with that. No? But that has not been changed in the budget yet. The budget that is before this House is to still adopt the budget before any of that changes have been made as per the recommendation, which means that they have not been done already. Which means we just talk and make recommendations, and we still pass whatever the executive puts before us. And then we carry on as if everything is okay. Honourable Deputy Speaker, also the suggestion that not supporting a budget of a department is akin to not wanting that department to have a budget is nonsensical. We do want departments to have budgets. We just don't agree with the items being budgeted for in their current proportions. We are saying to the executive, go and rework the following points in the interest of our people before we pass it. That's what people's power through democracy means. Instead, you would like us to betray the will of our people who elected all of us just to swallow what the executive wants. No wonder they don't implement any of the committee recommendations. They have been given free rein with a guarantee that you will always say, we support, no objections, never. And then we agree with whatever is put to us as members of this House. Honourable Deputy Speaker, let us point out some of the departmental budgets that we cannot, with good conscience, support in its current form. Let's start with the Department of Education. The budget that is before the House does not ensure a textbook for every subject, for every learner, nor a teacher in every classroom. The last time that we ordered a full complement of textbooks in this province, Honorable Premier, through you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, was in 2016. Since then, children are only getting some top-ups. The schools get some little money for top-ups. And children have to share textbooks or they have to make photocopies. This is before the Premier came into power, which means in your entire term, when those textbooks were supposed to be replaced in 2021, it was not budgeted for. It's not in this budget that is before the House. It's not in the MTEF budget, which means there's no allocation that is made for the 2.5 billion rand that is needed in order to replace that complement of textbooks that was last ordered in 2016. And yet, you want us to agree with the spending priorities of this budget. We are not going to agree with a budget that says that children are not going to have textbooks and classrooms are not going to have teachers. Additionally, the appropriation bill doesn't give a cent towards education infrastructure from the equitable share. Now, ANC MPLs in committee have agreed that this should be remedied in the appropriation bill. And yet, they still want to support the bill that does not give a cent from equitable share towards education infrastructure. The only money that goes to education infrastructure is from the EIG. Not a cent is put from the province from its equitable share allocations. Let's move to the Department of Health. The Department of Health starts the financial year with payables of 1.12 billion rand straight off the bat. The budget isn't sufficient, and two non-critical programs, health education services and infrastructure, get huge increases at the expense of critical programs such as district health services, EMS, and provincial hospital services, which have had their budgets cut. Treasury has also been complicit in not ring-fencing funds to deal with the medical legal claims as per High Court ruling, and should therefore assist in restoring operational budgets by allocating funds to pay all payables and accruables from outside the health budget over the medium term. We cannot support this budget in its current form because that would make us complicit in the death of our people when non-critical programs are being prioritized over critical programs. Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism, underperforming entities are being given massive increases and allocations, whilst our performing entities that are actually bringing in tourism and income into the province are facing budget cuts. This department is not backing their winning horses, and so we are not backing their budget. Department of Transport. The main reason in this respect is the issues around scholar transport, and this was discussed at length in the House over the last week. This is a budget, whether it comes through the Department of Education, but it's the allocations of the province, which basically tells us to support a budget in its current allocation that leaves 36,000 learners without transport who meet the policy of scholar transport but are not being taken to school. Conflicting numbers of needy learners that need transport, as well as corruption within this program, is a sticking point. This year's funds for scholar transport has already been used to pay scholar transport operators from last year, so there will be a shortfall. It's just a matter of time that there will be a shortfall this year. Realignment of this budget must be done, and road maintenance is a concern and not budgeted for sufficiently. We cannot support this budget. Department of Community Safety has been given a pittance. There's no vision for the budget, lack of resources such as vehicles, as well as the abuse of resources, for example, with the flying squad, contribute to the high murder rate and the increase in murder rate in the province. The 10111 Centre is also not operational. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the department is set to receive a measly 0.144% of the provincial equitable share allocation. I'm going to repeat that again. 0.144% of the provincial equitable share allocation. This is an indication enough that this government does not take the deteriorating safety conditions in our province seriously. In comparison, the Western Cape government allocates 8.5 times the percentage of their equitable share to community safety, which means the DA takes community safety 8.5 times more seriously than the ANC when comparing the way that we allocate money in our budgets. It's a percentage of equitable share. That's how you make comparisons, Honourable Member. Provincial Legislature. The Eastern Cape is ranked 6 out of 9 legislatures based on the amount it spends per an MPL. In addition to the budget allocated to the legislature being insufficient, It is sucked up by exorbitant salaries rather than empowering members to execute their oversight functions effectively. Honorable Deputy Speaker, you hear the conversations of members of this House. Over the last term, I think it's probably been the darkest period for this legislature, and I'm a new member in this legislature, and I've picked it up. International trips no longer take place. MPLs are not being exposed to any learning opportunities in order to ensure that we can do our jobs properly. It's almost as if we are just tolerating these MPLs because we have to have them because the Constitution says we have to have them. We don't really appreciate that the role that they need to play on behalf of our constituents in order to not only hold the executive accountable, but in order to inject new ideas into the work that is being done in the province. Employees of the legislature are treated like royalty, while members of the legislature are treated like stepchildren. Just recently, Honorable Premier, there was tools of trade that was being ordered. I can tell you now, tools of trade are being prioritized for officials over members of this House, as if you are trying to tie our hands behind our back so that we cannot come and do the oversight that we are supposed to do. In no functioning democracy can members of the legislature who are representatives of the public be treated with such disdain. There's no way that we as members of this legislature can support a budget of the legislature that is effectively disempowering ourselves. It's like chickens voting for Nando's. We are only voting for ourselves to be disempowered. And yet again, I'm sure the Honorable Pillay will be the first one to say, agree, no, never, never. But he's going to be one of those people that's going to be disadvantaged by the budget that is going to be approved by them today. Honorable Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, if this legislature wants to be taken seriously, it must make use of the powers that are afforded to it by the Constitution. If we abscond of those powers because we want to play partisan politics, just because we are members of a particular party, we think that we are forced to have to approve everything that the government of that party puts before us, then we are disempowering ourselves. If we don't say at some point enough is enough, I promise you every single year we are going to moan and complain about recommendations that go unfulfilled by the executive. We just were considering the school visit reports. We are going for school visits later on. By the way, school visits have been cut to 1 week. It's no longer 2 weeks. Okay? It's just an indication of the budget of this legislature. We were just considering the follow-up reports. I'm going to quote your own members in saying that over 80% of the recommendations have not been implemented from the school visits report, which means members of this House have wasted their time going to visit schools from every district across this province, and yet those recommendations, I wonder when they are even read by the relevant officials. MPLs of this legislature, it doesn't matter whether I'm from the DA or from the ANC. It's not about partisan politics. This is about our communities. Use your power as members of the legislature. You are not members of the executive, Honorable Dimaza. Maybe next time you might be a member. But you are not a member of the executive. Use your power as a member of the legislature to hold the executive to account. Because I can tell you, if you fail to do so like you have done for the last 4 years, already the ANC is polling at 40%. Never in the history of this country, I see the polls every week as the chairperson of the province for the DA in the Eastern Cape. The ANC are polling at 40%. At 40%. Eh? Which means that even if you do win elections in the Eastern Cape, you are going to have to report to a DA president after elections next year, because people of this country are waking up to the reality of who is for them and who is against them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, let me indicate, I think you have saved us 13 minutes from your debating time. There is no EFF, therefore we save 24 minutes. There is no DA, we save 4 minutes, sorry, UDM. UDM. We are saving 4 minutes. There is no Freedom Front Plus. We are saving there. There is no ATM debating. We are also saving. I will invite the African National Congress. If that's a question.
Acting Speaker, the Premier and all members of the Executive Council, members of this House, HODs of different departments, our visitors in the gallery, good day. We understand that when you are young, you think like a young person. And you must allow you to be free and grow. It's natural. So some of the issues that have been raised will never be dignified because they are still being told by a younger person, pleasing his masters. You understand that? I would like to borrow from the words of our Premier when he spoke on one of the platforms, when he said, we must guard against maximizing the minimums and minimizing the maximums. The reason why I'm quoting that is because there's a tendency to focus more on negatives than to focus more on positives. Because people that are not coming from the province of the Eastern Cape would really think that it is all doom and gloom because of the small negatives that are happening. The Western Cape, that is seen to be a model area, has the following for us to note. In terms of the size of the province, is 129,462 square kilometers. You compare that with the Eastern Cape, which is 168,966 square kilometers. Secondly, in the country, as of the 21st of June, the population of our country is at 61.4 million people. The breakdown of racial groups, 64% of that is Africans, Asians 6%, and whites only 1%. As by Power 98.7 Statistics, which is an institution that deals with statistics. Secondly, despite what my member has just said here, that the Western Cape is spending more budget on community safety. In South Africa, the most poorest area, dangerous area, is Nyanga Township, the Western Cape. And when you look at that, it's predominantly habited by Africans. Again, the second most dangerous city in the world is Pretoria, which is followed by Caracas in Venezuela. These two areas are being governed by the remnants of Nationalist Party, DA. These are the realities that my fellow member who's still growing would never understand. He serves under my committee, and I love him. But I'm not going to pat him at the back when he's pleasing his masters. The geographical structural economic problem that you see today in our province is as a result of the legacy that was left by the apartheid. Even the budget appropriation allocation was designed to serve the minority and still leave the majority of people still living in poverty. And it is only the ANC-led government that is caring for our people, which is still trying to take our people out of poverty and restore the dignity of the black person, in particular, and the Africans in general. Honorable Speaker, in the Western Cape province, we have witnessed that our people are still living in the periphery where there's no work infrastructure. Black people are neglected and live in the banks of the river where, if there are floods, they are the ones that get taken away to the temporal structures and they stay there forever without fixing the infrastructure in the place where the black people are living. The current Khayelitsha in the Western Cape, which is situated up more than 60 kilometers away from the inner city, the first infrastructure they built was just toilets. Because they don't want us to be next to them at Camps Bay and Bishop's Quarry. Honorable Speaker, recently we witnessed that in the flood that had just taken place in the Western Cape, the floods only affected the poor and the working class as the one that has been affected mostly. We have never seen a white person have been affected by this. The reason why, Speaker, we are not paying, this government of the Western Cape not paying attention to self-delivery in our people is because of the infighting in the DA. How many of your former black members have left you, leaders? And the fighting is not genuine, but they are fighting over corruption and fraud. E.g., the driver's license saga where DA members were arrested, just to name a few. So ibuzi wayifundanga ibona ibuzi unganakho. The ANC take into account our ailing economy as the province. However, our provincial treasury has always been striving for the better life of the people of the Eastern Cape through service delivery that our people were promised through our manifesto. When we were given clear mandate by the electorate to carry the aspirations of creating better life for all through dealing with unemployment, inequality, and poverty. Although it has never been easy, but Provincial Treasury has managed under difficult conditions of shrinking budget appropriations, allocation to champion one thing, which is prudent use of resources, means ensuring that we use them wisely and efficiently in a way that respects the needs of future generations. This means enabling more sustainable consumption and production and using non-renewable resources in ways that do not endanger the resources or cause serious damage or pollution. And therefore, credit must be given where it is due. We also suggest that Provincial Treasury and Office of the Premier must work with law agencies to bring to books the fictitious claims by the law firms that are also bankrupting the provincial purse when it comes to the issue of medical legal claims. We are equally concerned as the ANC that members of this parliament cannot perform oversight role because of budget constraints in the legislature. Therefore, we urge Provincial Treasury to increase budget allocation of Eastern Cape legislature so that we can conduct robust oversight over the executive. We are clear, honorable members, that as members other than executive, we do our job. Hence, we are calling for more funds to be given for us to conduct robust oversight. We know the separation of powers. We're not confused. We are particularly pleased with 30% of local procurement and labor sourcing for projects, as well as 50% localization, strict adherence to Eastern Cape Local Economic Development Framework, as well as the promulgation of Provincial Procurement Act that will strengthen the legislative framework for local procurement. In this effect,
We urge provincial government to be deliberate on supporting SMMEs and cooperatives owned and controlled by women and youth. Ensuring that suppliers are paid in time within 30 days goes without saying, and the accounting officers of the departments that fail to comply with this the department must apply the consequence management to those departments' officials. We urge Provincial Treasurer to give support to the Department of Transport with regards to scholar transport data of suppliers which is not accurate, and that has resulted to over and underpayments of suppliers because of the data not being accurate, and that creates havoc amongst the suppliers, such that even protests by the service providers throughout the province has been negatively affecting the learners and commuters. Therefore, this must be speedily resolved. The decline in the equitable share provision from the national fiscus. We appreciate the initiative taken by Provincial Treasurer to implement a budget strategy that focuses on prudent financial management and control, fiscal sustainability, cost containment measures, limiting of the provincial wage bill, increase in the provincial owned revenue generation, and rationalization of public entities. In this regard, we want to commend the Provincial Treasury when it is employed upon all departments to enhance its own revenue generation, which projects that the province could collect up to 7 billion rands annually by 2030, and that must be implemented. Honourable Speaker, for people of this province to trust and have confidence on their government, accountability is very important. To this effect, the positive improvements on audit findings are indicative of the ANC-led governments at work to ensure good governance of the state and its entities, which then translates into public confidence that money is used for its intended purposes. Madam Speaker, Honourable Deputy Speaker, it is delighting to note that budget leans towards the ANC's focus on radical economic transformation, which envisions an effective state that is decisive in the pursuit of structural change, thereby wielding opportunities to the poor and vulnerable to have ownership and control of the economy. For any economic transformation project to succeed, state with prospects of being developmental must leverage on its legislative, regulatory, licensing, budget, and procurement levels and develop capacity to actively lead and drive transformation. In this regard, we appreciate the provincial government's enhanced focus on the 6 economic sectors which can be used to unlock the economic potential of the province. It is pleasing to note that budget is anchored on the priority areas of the ANC, with focus on education and health as the major drivers of transformation, the social service sector. This perspective is highly supported. We are further encouraged by the commitment that funds that will go towards upgrading of healthcare facilities. The National Health Insurance Project is of utmost importance for the province. It is therefore welcome that government is planning on focusing on increasing universal health coverage by strengthening the re-engineering of primary health care in our province. Welcome the allocation of 41.1 billion rands towards Department of Education, as this will strengthen the support that our learners need in our classrooms, such that even though passing rate will increase. Deputy Speaker, the allocation towards roads infrastructure comes as a relief, as many of our people, especially in informal segments in the rural areas, are often disadvantaged by the bad conditions of roads or the absence of access roads in their areas. This becomes a barrier to accessing amenities and services, and it is the poor who bear the brunt. I failed to indicate that as the ANC will support both reports. We urge this House to rally behind our national team of netball that will be representing our country, as we believe that it is going to make us very proud. I therefore stand here before this august House to say, big up to our girls, and that all of us must don our
girls' jerseys on Fridays as a mark of support to our girls. However, concerned is the ANC that the unauthorized expenditure to the amount of 184.6 million rands incurred by the Department of Education during the period 2021 to 2022, and which the Relevant Standing Committee on Public Accounts has recommended for authorization by the legislation is hereby supported. But however, we want to note the great concern that the Office of the Premier, working together with the Treasury, must make sure that those accounting officers do account for this misconduct. And we hope that the Department of Education was honest enough when it appeared before SCOPA, when it indicated the reasons why it has failed to spend accordingly. As the ANC, want to implore the Premier that there must be clear evidence that wrongdoing in the province is not being supported, by making sure that all those who misconduct, heads must roll. We therefore, Honorable Speaker, call upon this House to adopt both the appropriation bill as well as the finance bill. I so thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Saziwa. Debating on behalf of the ANC, Honorable Member, you saved 19 minutes of your allocated time. Thank you very much. I will now invite African National Congress, Honorable Dimaza.
Well, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Good afternoon to you, the Premier of the province, members of the executive, members of this legislature, Chief Whip, the heads of departments who are present, our visitors on the gallery, and to all, good afternoon. I thought today I will take only 5 minutes. But seemingly I will take all the minutes allocated to me. When I grew up, my mother once said to me, there are certain things that you have to note in life. One of those, never take a dwarf and put a dwarf on your shoulders. A dwarf will see more than you do. Don't ever do that. I don't intend doing that. But there is one thing that we need to understand. Executive use the money that is allocated to it by the House. That's the constitution of this country. They cannot use any. It is by us here in the House making that allocation. For you then, Honorable Kasim, to think you're going to come here and teach me about my duties as a member. You are still new and young. You don't know more about the legislature. But the unfortunate part about you, which I've noted as from yesterday, I think I have just 2 questions to look at that. You see, there is this particular problem of ego. You know? Ego need to feel superior. You have got that. And the problem with yours, you suffer from what one calls a pathological ego. It's not, you attacked me, you said, Dimaza, you are not going to be a member of the executive. Oh. Okay, listen, close, listen. Okay, Mfana Tula. I'm here now. I told you when we were at the lobby that whatever you're going to say, I'm going to respond. And I'm responding now. You know, one of the problems, Premier, that's why he's responding like that. It is because yesterday, because of their continued thinking that the Western Cape is the best province in this country. I responded yesterday to tell them about Corruption Watch report. That in the Corruption Watch report, the 6th edition, the last one, which was released on the 22nd of September 2022, there's no other report. It states that the Western Cape is on the top 4 of the corrupt provinces. Eastern Cape is nowhere to be found there, but that hurts them because you are speaking of a province that is governed by the people who oppress the people of this country. And they cannot do that because they are white people. Any province which is under a white person must be seen as the one that is doing better. Question of white supremacy. You see, I told them that that same Corruption Watch report is telling us that the city of Cape Town, I have to move further today, to tell about the city of Cape Town. There's a report that has been they've been hiding the report for years that talks about corruption that is taking place there. And the parties need that particular report. Even up to today, it has not been released. Serious forensic report that has not been released even up to this day in that city of Cape Town. There's a child in the Western Cape who has not been admitted at schools because of the question of language barrier. You're quiet about those particular things. If you're an honest South African, be balanced when you're debating. If you're an honest South African, if you're a patriot, you have to be balancing to say, all of us in the province, the question of corruption is affecting all the provinces. But you don't mention those. You take as if in the Western Cape is a tabula rasa. But it is not. You are quiet about what is happening in the Department of Transport in the Western Cape in Stellenbosch, where more than 1,500 licenses have been issued wrongly, where even the government of the Western Cape has taken that to give it to the Hawks. Ego, in its blindness, is incapable of seeing the suffering it inflicts on itself. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I must join, that is, my colleagues, ndinqwenelele uComrade uBhese, Honorable Ndabeni, ukuthi bangamelana nezimeko during this time. We understand, Honorable Ndabeni, noko la ndlela ihamba yosiyayazi uphulukana nomama. Honorable Bhese, la ndlela zayihamba uphulukana no brother, we know it. Sifuna ukuthi kubo ke ingaba ngayamkela balale ngelicala linenxeba. Sinqonelela i-speedy recovery, Honorable Stevenson, and the former member of this House, Honorable Van Vieren. Banqonelela ingaske nabo banga-recoverisha operations that abazid undergo. I think, Honorable Premier, mandilisebenzise lithuba kuba ndilapha kule ndawo, just to thank some few people for the support. Let me start with yourself, and also Nomangan, you, Honorable Komonye. I must start with yourself, Honorable Premier. The motivation that you continue to give to our sons, if it was not because of your own motivation and Nkomonye, I don't think my son tomorrow will be playing the second final as far as the Kerry Cup is concerned. I must also, Premier, thank Honorable Cowley, Honorable Vicky Knutzi, and Honorable Van Bogenrode, even Van Vieren, who continued to send messages, that is to my son, to say, we are watching you, and you are good that you are man of the match. We are saying thanks very much to everybody. I think most of all, I think the role, Premier, that Honorable Nkomonye played, because at one point, when there were games that is won here in East London, that year my son was giving up because he was not given game time. But Nkomonye went there to say to him, continue to play, the time will come. And today, Tomorrow he will be playing the second final for the Pumas. You watch number 8. Tomorrow in the teams that will be playing there are about 4 kids who are coming from this province. 3 of them will be playing for the Pumas. 1 of them will be playing for the Cheetahs. Number 13, that is David Britz, and my son. They were the 2 who represented border in the South African schools, where the Springbok who played, that is with England and Wales, when they were still doing grade 12. Sifuna ke ukunibulela all of you Premier support. Continue to do that to the kids of this particular province. And I think what you are doing as a father, siyayibulela nathi as the parents. But also, I want to, whilst I'm standing here, I was told and phoned by Dr. Bayeni, was one of the most dedicated doctors, young ones that we have in this province. I think now he is moving. He has accepted a position at the National Department of Health. We're losing him. He's going to national. I think he was one of those very much committed. If there was an opportunity or chance, I think a little token of appreciation, we needed to do something about that. He's very, very young, but we still need him in the province. But now he's going to the national. Congratulations to him. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we are of the view that Provincial Treasury, I think, is to lobby the National Treasury with regards to the formula used, that is to distribute the equitable share. We believe, as the Eastern Cape province, we are a developing province, and as this particular province, we are a rural province, and the equitable formula as it is being used presently, we think it is disadvantaging this particular province. We understand the stats essay and the numbers and the population, that is what is being used. But that formula, it has proved that it is not assisting this province at all. In fact, it fails to assist all the rural provinces. And the rural provinces will never catch up with the other provinces whatsoever if we continue with that particular formula. Because I think whoever thought about that particular formula, I think there was not enough study that was made. A study where you start to see what has been happening, because most of the times, abantu abaninzi balapha e-Eastern Cape, it's not something that happened after 1994. It's something that happened long time ago. Abantu base Eastern Cape is either they go up to the Western Cape or they go up, that is to Gauteng and the mines. If you take a chance sometimes, the weekend, today, and count the number of taxis that are coming in Zimba, and those taxis that will be going out. We once said to FFC, can you please do this counting of the population in December? We once said to them, do it in December, and then you will see whether you'll come out with the same numbers for the Eastern Cape or not. But unfortunately, they don't do it. It never considers economically when you look into the Eastern Cape and you look into other provinces. So that particular formula needs to be totally changed. I think we need to do something as a province so that at least we can get more money as far as that is concerned. Otherwise, in its present form, the formula is not assisting the rural province like this province of ours, the Eastern Cape and the Limpopo, and will never catch up, honestly, with all other provinces if we continue with that type of a formula. Provincial Treasurer is encouraged to closely monitor the rebalancing of the provincial wage bill to ensure that expenditure and compensation of employees, they do not outweigh the expenditure on core business of the government. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we note with great appreciation the Stats has released the CPI, which shows that it has decreased from 6.8 in April 2023 to 6.3 in May 2023. This will also ease the burden that has been carried by the consumers for quite some time, and hope the Reserve Bank will also ease the burden to the consumers by decreasing its interest rate. Honorable Deputy Speaker, education is very important to take our country forward and our province in particular. Therefore, it must be appreciated when there is an intervention in the educational sector by financial support. If there are students who do not have financial resources to settle their debts, either to get their certificates after finishing because they still owe the universities or respective institution, or they still go and undergraduate but cannot proceed to the next course, to the next academic year, because they are unsettled fees. Therefore, it is only caring government like the African National Congress-led government that can take the revolutionary progressive decision to assist those students so that they carry on with their lives. The African National, therefore, as the African National Congress, we applaud the second adjustment, an amount of 50 million. That 50 million which will be assisting in tertiary institutions across the province. We noted the division that has been made, and we are happy with that particular division, where Walter Sisulu University is amounted to 20 million, University of Fort Hare 15 million, Nelson Mandela University an amount of 10 million, and Rhodes University an amount of 5 million. We applaud that particular division. Honorable Deputy Speaker, although our unemployment rate has slightly decreased as a province, but the reality is that we are still above the national unemployment rate. Therefore, a lot still needs to be done, especially amongst the youth and financial support of our SMEs, to create the employment. Therefore, Honorable Deputy Speaker, as the African National Congress, we note with disdain that the Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism has underspent its budget by 30.287 million, whilst our people do not get financial support to run their businesses. You see, this question of underspending by this department, if you check, you go to the manifesto of the African National Congress, page 22, strengthening page 22 of the manifesto of the African National Congress. It states clearly that what is it that we wanted to see happening in this particular department? What is it that needs to be done? That means you cannot have, if you read that particular page 22, you read page 33 of the manifesto, it tells you exactly what is it that needs to be done by that particular department. If such things were being done, we don't think that particular department will be underspending so much. You cannot have a situation. You see, Premier, when we were doing the school visit.
2 minutes.
When we were doing the school visit this year, when we were doing the school visit, there was an official from the Department of Environmental Affairs when we were at Ngobo. And then this person we asked, "Ufuna ntoni apha?" Uthi, "Hayi ngiyahamba nje ndizochaza ngesithi uchazela abani ntoni. Where are the documents?" There were not even documents that she was carrying. And now you are having a department that is underspending so much money, and it affects, that is, a budget for next financial year. Such a thing, it cannot be accepted. So, Premier, I think we wanted to indicate as ANC that something has to be done, at least consequence management, to all the departments that are underspending. To all the departments that are underspending. You cannot continue to have a manager that is underspending in the program, to remain in that program whilst the manager is underspending. Something has to be done. As ANC, we support the report and we support the adjustment.
Thank you very much, Honorable Demaza. The Honorable MEC to conclude the debate.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Chair of Chairs and the Deputy Chair of Chairs, Chief Whip and Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable Premier and all MECs, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Finance and Provincial Expenditure and all its members, all members of the Provincial Legislature, HODs, DG and HODs and other senior government officials, ladies and gentlemen, all our guests, good day. Let me also take this opportunity to start by sending condolences to Honorable Ndabeni and Honorable Bese. We could only wish that God will grant them strength at this time of sorrow. I wish to welcome and appreciate the report that has been presented by the Portfolio Committee on Finance and Provincial Expenditure on the 2023 Appropriation Bill, B1 2023 Eastern Cape, including the findings and recommendations. Honorable Speaker, a report on all issues raised in the report will be submitted within the prescribed period of 30 days. But there are a few issues that one needs to correct and reflect on as being utterances on this podium. But to a larger extent, we must also understand that our priorities are not the same. And as these parties here, they will never be the same. The matter of COE spending, we've had debates on this matter over a long time. Almost every year when I have to take the podium, I have to defend this matter, where some honorable members believe that we have to reduce the COE spending by changing our organizational structures or not replacing all those that exit the departments, and I don't think that is correct. And what we are faced with is not something that we created ourselves. It is a legacy, and it will take a long time for us to get into a situation where we'll be spending 50% on COE. But I'm saying 50%. But I must also indicate that the Department of Education has a system of replacing textbooks. Fortunately, I had a stint in the department. You cannot buy textbooks every year as if you did not buy in the previous year. What the department would use, it would look at what do you have in this year in terms of the number of learners, let's say in grade 12, and you look at what is the difference between what we bought in the previous year and the number of learners, and that's how they come to a top-up. The second one is to look at the lifespan of the textbook, because a textbook, I think, is given a lifespan of a number of years, which is 5 years. So after 5 years, you can only replenish or top up the number of textbooks in accordance with what you allocated 5 years ago. So it has a system. So it's not that you just have to buy every year, unless otherwise there's something that says it is not using the system. But I know there is a system on how you top up or replenish textbooks in the Department of Education. But also we do allocate infrastructure a budget for the Department of Education. I'm not talking about what they're getting from the national, I'm taking it as a province. Unless otherwise the allocation that goes to the Department of Education for infrastructure gets swallowed elsewhere is the implication of what the member is saying, but there is an allocation to the Department of Education for infrastructure. I don't think the party gossip is worth being dignified by a response. That one we just have to believe, pretend as if you did, the honorable member didn't say anything about it. Yes, I think that's a correct one. On the primary health care, Honorable Speaker, in line with the recommendations made by the Committee on the Primary Health Care, it is pleasing to note that the National Health Bill insurance has been passed by the National Assembly and is now being processed by the National Council of Provinces. The bill will go a long way to address the plight of our people that have been long waiting for universal access to quality health care. We are mindful of the fact that there's greater opposition to this, but we are very happy that at least it has gone through the first stage, and soon it will be an act. Scholar transport. Let me start by saying the findings by the Committee on Scholar Transport are valid, as intimated and presented by the chair. here. The Eastern Cape has the responsibility to strengthen its ICT systems, control environment, and adhere to good governance. I think there's been a long debate in the Birmingham for 2 days on scholar transport. I don't think we need to go there again. With respect to the monitoring of infrastructure implementation, I am pleased to mention, as I did yesterday, that the Office of the Premier has taken the lead to establish the Premier's Infrastructure Coordinating Committee to monitor and improve infrastructure performance in the province. We are mindful of the under-expenditure when it comes to infrastructure, and we are hoping that the PCC, the PICC, is an attempt to address the challenge that we are facing. Honorable, there was a question by Honorable, in fact, there was a comment by Honorable Malamlela on the, okay, he's not here, on the equitable share formula. We would like to mention to the House that the equitable share formula is being reviewed by National Treasury together with all nine provincial treasuries. So it's a matter of all provincial treasuries with the National Treasury on that one. And to note that our province has currently benefited in the 2022 MTF period from the review of the formula. If you remember, when we were presenting the budget, we did indicate that we were a beneficiary of that kind of a review. Honorable Chairman, it's also a concern for us that for the past 9 years, the audit outcomes of the DOE, Department of Education, have not reached the desired levels. Whilst we are happy with the progress the province is making in its audit outcomes, our provincial audit improvement support is now focusing on the Department of Education, just as we also do at the Departments of Health and Transport. We have identified the root causes for the department not obtaining a clean audit, and we continue to work with the department in addressing those challenges. They include leadership instability that is caused by the non-filling of vacancies at leadership levels and their lack of proper record keeping and non-performance of monthly reconciliation. We, however, work with the department in implementation of the audit improvement strategy using the Provincial Audit Improvement Plan as a tool. One of the highlights for this financial year is the fact that provinces were not subjected to budget cuts, unlike in previous years where provincial equitable shares suffered severe budget cuts due to reprioritization of budgets by the National Treasury. It must, however, be noted that the province is still battling with effects of budget cuts that were effected since 2013. The implications of those cuts meant that the province also had to reprioritize its budget to fund budget pressures, including using its reserves. I think this is a matter that we always bring to the attention of the House, that we almost every year we are at the verge of depleting our provincial reserves. In the fiscal consolidation path that we have adopted, reprioritization is the approach we have been encouraging departments to take in instances where they themselves are experiencing budget pressures. We also appeal to the Eastern Cape administration to prevent any fiscal leakages in the system. Thus, we encourage efficient and effective use of public resources at all our departments. If we succeed in that, we stand to see value in the little resources that are at our disposal. Coming to the second adjustment appropriation bill, we appreciate that the committee adopted the second adjustment bill without amendments as part of the provincial reprioritization. The adjustment estimates is introduced, amongst others, in terms of Section 31(1), subsection 1 and 2 of the PFMA, to provide for monies that become available from or taken away by national government, in some instances, compliance to Section 43 relating to shifting environments of funds within their budget, which may exceed the limit that can be approved by the accounting officers of a department. It's just important
that the issue of the second adjustment is done as a last resort, as it distorts the efficient spending by the province. Honorable Speaker, the attitude of the Portfolio Committee with regards to education infrastructure grant funds having been stored by the National Department of Basic Education is justified. It's not acceptable that the province, such as ours, keeps losing infrastructure funds. We agree that the Provincial Department of Education should improve their spending performance, as the province is in need of these funds to address infrastructure challenges. Efforts are, however, being made to prevent poor infrastructure delivery in the province. To reinforce the work that is being done by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and Provincial Treasury, the Office of the Premier has taken the lead to establish the PICC, as I indicated, and its major objective is to monitor and improve infrastructure province in the province. Honorable Deputy Speaker, noting the socio-economic challenges faced by young people to improve their skills and break the cycle of poverty, funding of the higher education sector should be a priority, both at a national level and provincial level where possible. We, however, agree that this should be grounded within the proper planning. We further agree, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that the core business of the legislature to perform oversight is important and should be protected. And maybe it is time to consider a paradigm shift with respect to funding the legislature sector, with the province, which the province suggests could be a direct charge against the National Revenue Fund. Alternatively, norms should be established for the oversight function of the legislature sector. We once raised this matter in one of our meetings with a national minister to say, I think it was a budget council, to propose that legislatures should should actually benefit on the division of revenue directly from national treasury, and not be appropriated by the provincial treasury. Maybe it's a matter that we need to canvass more with other provinces, and I'm sure it will actually deal with quite a number of challenges that the provincial legislature is facing currently. And on the last one, the consideration of the finance bill, we note and appreciate that the committee has considered and adopted the bill without any amendments. We also appreciate the work done by SCOPA, which led to the tabling of this finance bill. The House will recall that we underwent this process, which arisen from an unauthorized expenditure totaling 184.6 million rand incurred by the Department of Education in respect of the 2021-22 financial year. Whilst we are considerate to reasons provided by education on the matter, we reiterate that it should have been prevented and it should not be repeated. Unauthorized expenditure in its nature reflects bad practice by any entity. We support the resolution that was taken by SCOPA on the matter that some form of accountability must be enforced against those responsible for incurring unauthorized expenditure. It is through consequence management that we can achieve high levels of financial management discipline in the public service. The process of improving audit outcomes in the Department of Education should involve ensuring that our financial management systems do not allow for incidences such as unauthorized expenditure to be incurred in the first place. I know that cough, I know what it means. We must work together in eradicating all sorts of deviations in the system. Leadership should lead the task of advancing clean governance, and it starts with us. Once again, we promise to provide a detailed report within the prescribed 30 days to ensure that we give full account on all issues raised in various portfolio committee reports. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. Thank you very much, honorable members who participated in this important debate. It was indeed very qualitative and also very insightful. Uyakisizwe Sethu Magwaqaza has joined the gallery as well. She's a learner at KHS, Siyabulela Honorable Fihlane for bringing them here so that bakwazi ukubona umsebenzi owenziwa ngumama. Where is she? Oh yes, in a blue jacket. Honorable members, we have now come to the stage of the committee of the whole house. We shall start with the Appropriation Bill 2023, Second Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2023, and the Finance Bill 2023, and all stand referred to the Committee of the Whole House in terms of Rule 158, subsection 5 of the Standing Rules of Procedure. I will ask now the Chairperson of Committee of Chairpersons to take the chair as I leave.
Thank you very much, honorable members, and now the House has been converted into the Committee of the Whole House, and I will go through firstly I'll go through the Appropriation Bill 2023, vote by vote. I put vote 1. I put vote 2.
Honorable Chair of Chairs.
Honorable, yes, Honorable Kassim.
Please note that the DA does not support vote 2.
Thank you. The objection is recorded. I put, honorable members, can you please behave as we have come to the important function of why we have converged here to pass the budget. I put vote 3.
Honorable Chair of Chairs.
Yes, Honorable
Please
Kassim.
note that the DA does not support vote 3.
The objection is minuted. I put vote 4. I put vote 5. I put vote 6.
Honorable Chair of Chairs.
Yes, Honorable
The
Kassim.
DA does not support vote 6.
I put vote 7.
Honorable Chair of Chairs.
Yes, Honorable Kassim.
The DA rises to not support vote 7.
I put vote 8.
Honorable Chair of Chairs.
Honorable Kassim.
The DA rises not to support vote 8.
I put vote 9.
Honorable Chair of Chairs. The DA, the objection of the DA and vote 9.
Thank you. I put vote 10.
Honorable Chair of Chairs, the DA objects to vote 10.
I put vote 11.
Agreed.
Honorable Chair of Chairs, please note our objection on vote 11.
I put vote 12. I put vote 14.
Agreed.
I put vote 15.
Agreed.
Honorable Chair of Chairs, please note the objection of the DA on vote 15.
Thank you. I put clauses 1 to 2 of the bill. I put Part A and B of the bill. I put Schedules A and B of the bill. I put the whole bill.
We
Honorable
agree
Chair,
with the
please
whole
note
deal.
the objection of the DA on the whole bill.
Noted, Honorable. The objection is
Noted.
noted and recorded in the minutes. Honorable members, can you allow me to speak? Please. The objection is noted and recorded in the minutes. Now I will go through the second adjustment appropriation bill 2023 vote by vote. I put vote 1. I put vote 2. I put vote 3. I put vote 4. I put vote 5. I put vote 6. I put vote 7. I put vote 8. I put vote 9. I put vote 10. I put vote 11. I put vote 12. I put vote 14. I put vote 15. I put clauses 1 to 2 of the bill. I put Part A and B of the bill. I put Schedules A and B of the bill. I put the whole bill. I'll go through. I will now go through to the finance bill. I will now go through the finance bill 2023. I put vote 6. I put clauses 1 to 2 of the bill. I put parts A and B of the bill. I put the schedules of the bill. I put the whole bill. Thank you very much. Can we call the Deputy Speaker to take over?
Order, members, we rise.
You may be seated. Thank you very much, honorable members. I will now request the chairperson of Committee of Chairpersons to report on all the three bills, with or without amendments, in the following order: appropriation, second adjustment, and finance bill.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I'm happy to report that the appropriation bill 2023 has been adopted without amendment. However, on vote 2, vote 3, vote 6, vote 7,
vote 8, vote 9, vote 10, vote 11, and vote 15. We have recorded the objections from the Democratic Alliance in the minutes of the proceedings. So, but the bill has been adopted without any amendment. And on the second adjustment appropriation bill, the bill has been adopted without any amendment, Deputy Speaker. And the finance bill has been adopted without any amendments, Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much, Deputy.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of Committee of Chairpersons. Indeed, I'm grateful. I will now invite the MEC to move for the adoption of the appropriation bill.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I move that the appropriation bill 2023 be passed.
Honorable members, I now put the bill. Any objection?
Honorable Deputy Speaker,
Yes.
please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, it is noted for inclusion in the minutes of proceedings. I will now request the Honorable MEC to move for the adoption of the second adjustment appropriation bill 2023.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I move that the second adjustment appropriation bill 2023 be passed.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. I now put the bill. Any objection? There being none, honorable members, I will now request the Honorable MEC for Finance to move for the adoption of the Finance Bill, Eastern Cape 2023.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I move that the Finance Bill 2023 be passed.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. I put the bill. Any objection? Thank you very much, honorable members. On that note, we have received the bereavements as members were debating here on behalf of the family of Honorable Ndabeni and Honorable Bese. And indeed, on behalf of this session, we wish also to convey our sympathies. Sifuna ukuthi zonke seasons ziyafika, kodwa zonke seasons ziyedlula. Naleba kuyo imeko, uThixo uzobaphulula ababeke endaweni ebanzi. Mabavume bayamkele njenge condition yobomi, into kokuba sisebomini nje sikwasekufeni. And that concludes the discussions on the matter and the business for the day. And the House will adjourn until further notice. Honourable members, lunch is to be served at the dining hall. The House is now adjourned.